Well, I have noticed that I have um, quite a big problem uh, get being around a lot of people, and it like for 14 days, 2 weeks ago, it happened that it was an event in the school where my kids go, and it was very crowded in a small, relatively small place, and all of a sudden I saw I'm very sensitive to energies, and I just saw a man, and I don't know, I assumed that something was not okay energetically, and I just get a panic attack, and I had to go out, and I closed myself in my container, and I went to meditate and try to process it. And I'm working with people. It's not a problem if I love people. I'm dedicated to this work, but as there are many people, I get anxiety and also panic attacks. Do you have any advice regarding this? Is there just a period that will pass, or can I just prepare? I'm trying to explain myself that this is because I'm really sensitive to energies, and the more it process is, advancing, the more I feel this. But also, this is getting more intense. So I go to the store, and I'm anxious about getting in a center where there's a lot of people, and I have to, you know, just buy food or, you know,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing about your experience. I know that some can become very sensitive throughout this journey, and likely even before this whole Kundalini awakening took place, they may have been very sensitive as children as well. Um, Very emotional, very in tune, very empathic, but also sensitive to subtleties, which may make them great artists, musicians, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some gifts there for sure. But of course, as this process ramps up, our nervous system can become like a sponge. We can go out in the world and we're picking up on subtle cues, facial expressions, subtle gestures, subtle things that others don't recognize. And we can also then pick up on energy, right? Energy. But maybe some who don't necessarily buy into the idea of spiritual energy, sure. But there is something to be said about those who are more sensitive, are just more finely attuned to people's demeanor, and they take in this information, and then sometimes we don't exactly know what to do with it. So some things we can do on the worldly plane, of course, focusing on self-care, recognizing that when you go out in the world, you may likely take on some emotional content from other people, and therefore you should do something to prepare yourself, something to unwind afterwards, maybe some positive affirmations or mantras to remind yourself that, none of this stuff necessarily belongs to you, and it's not your job to process it for other people, reminding yourself of who other people are. Sometimes we can get really, especially those with open hearts, especially those inclined towards service, maybe those who fall into the camp of being empaths, also maybe codependent, can see somebody suffering and we can feel almost guilty. We can feel um, like we should save them. And because we can't, then that can really hurt us. It can bring us a lot of pain. So remembering that other people out there, they may be suffering, but it's not our responsibility. And on another level, they're God in disguise having their own journey. And ultimately, they're okay. They're okay. So these are some things that I have to remind myself sometimes as well. I see people hurting, and I think like, for example, the other day I saw somebody do something kind of embarrassing, and I felt like secondhand embarrassment. And this stayed with me for like a day or two. And I thought, this person has completely forgotten what they did that was embarrassing for them. But I'm carrying this secondhand embarrassment even longer than they have. Like that's not good. And so I thought about it some more. And one thing I realized was, everyone's on their journey, right? And we don't want to just take away all of their pain, because what that would do is we're taking away their context for growth. So some things to consider there. Just the perspective shift that alone can help to put up a bit of a boundary on the level of the mind, which says, I don't have to take on other people's stuff. It's not my job. It's not my job. And ultimately, they're okay. And when they're ready for help, they'll go to the right person, and that's probably not going to be me, and that's completely fine. The right people that I'm meant to serve, they'll come to me, and we'll work together within the boundaries of a particular arrangement. So different ways of looking at it like that. Then, of course, we can do some prayers, some invocations, some things like this beforehand, calling upon our guides to help us today as we go into this crowded place. When we come back, we can do a sort of visualization to release, maybe imagine ourselves under a waterfall or engage in some sort of ritual, something to release things that aren't ours. We can clear our space, clear our aura. We can also engage in some visualizations to imagine, white light, purple light protecting us, imagine our guides protecting us. These sorts of things as well can be effective. But in time, know that ultimately nothing is going wrong here. This is all context for growth and learning, especially as a light worker, especially as someone who's learning to use their gifts. Sometimes we learn to use our gifts in these very extreme and uncomfortable ways so that later on we can use them with more skill and they don't have to be such a burden and whatnot. So I hope that can help you, Lauren. I know it's something that many deal with.